What's up, Eagles Nation? What's going on, NFL world? How you doing, division rivals? This is Stephen Hyder with Gate City Sports Channel, the sports channel where the cerebral NFL fan comes for about 10 minutes of daily content. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever it is you get around to watching this. Once again, guys, Stephen Hyder, Gate City Sports Channel. All right, y'all, today's topic. Hey, look, I'm going through these receivers one by one, guys, and there's a guy that I've watched a lot of film on because I think he's a difficult player to place. I think this kid is an exceptional route runner. As a matter of fact, I think he's up in the top 5 of all the route runners I've watched. So I will put him up there with Jerry Jeudy. I'd put him up there with Justin Jefferson. I'd put him up there with T. Higgins. I just think this kid is a very, very good route runner. All right. The problem is that I'm having is, as good as a route runner as this kid is, and as good as he looks on film, I'll be honest with you guys, he doesn't get vertical. He doesn't get vertical at all. And that's a bit of a concern I have. This is a guy that, amongst the Eagles community, I'm hearing a lot of rumblings about. A lot of people really like this kid. And I got to tell you, there are aspects of his game that I really like as well. But if I'm going to be straightforward and if I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm not too sure that this is the right choice for the Eagles, unless you're getting other players beside him, because the one thing that I'm uncertain about with his game film is his ability to stretch the field, which I feel like we have a ton of guys who can work across the middle, who are good third down conversion people. I feel like we have those type of receivers already on this football team. I feel where we lack some, versatility at is guys who can legitimately stretch the field and give Carson Wentz the target to get downfield. Now, look, I still like this guy. I still think he's a good player. If you haven't called him who I'm talking about yet, today's topic, I'm talking about Van Jefferson, wide receiver, University of Florida. All right, y'all, let's get into it.
7:20 left here in the half. Trask to throw. Put some nice air underneath.
All right, guys, let's talk about Van Jefferson's positional alignment as a wide receiver. Now, the majority of the buzz that I received from reading scouting reports and, just kind of hearing the murmurs across the league is that Van Jefferson projects to be a very good slot receiver, okay? When I went to go watch film, I was a little shocked at that. Just my perspective on it, guys. I think Van Jefferson is being projected as a slot receiver more so due to the route tree that he runs and his ability to work across that middle of the field, more so than his alignment in college. I was underneath the impression this kid played a lot of slot, and don't get me wrong, he did, but I found him all over the field. To begin with, depending on the game you're watching, it depends on where they aligned him. I mean, I saw him play a lot of the X split end alignment when they played that Virginia game. And he looked okay to me. He looked very comfortable working the boundary side of the field. He looked okay with those tight windows because his route running is so precise. He doesn't need a lot of space and a lot of room to gain separation there. Although the ball is centrally located, he's working towards the weak side of the offense, making him the X. I could definitely see him projecting as a guy that plays the X and then also lines his way in. I do think that there are some really clear and obvious similarities between a guy like Justin Jefferson and Van Jefferson. I think their games have some similarity here. But I do think Justin Jefferson is a little more dynamic in terms of getting over the top. With that said, I could see him being X-aligned and then playing in the slot as well a little bit. Being this kind of guy like we've talked about previously, right? A Devontae Adams, a Michael Thomas type. These guys that can definitely kind of move around and play all three alignments without much problem. I do see some of that in Van Jefferson's game. I'm just concerned about his ability to stretch the field. Now, when I went and I was watching film of other games, I saw different things. I mean, he played in the slot in all of the games I watched, but when he was playing in the slot, one of the things that stood out to me, and it kind of really caught my attention, guys, was the 3-by set, even sometimes a 4-by set. But when he was in that 3-by set, look at the way he drops those hips to sell from going from an out route back to an in or a slant. He really, you can see that the intention here was to use his route running with all these different releases coming out to really confuse the defense. And it was pretty effective there. When I look at this young man's game film from Missouri, I saw him playing a lot of the flanker or Z alignment, guys. And it could just be simply put that maybe those were the better routes he was running, so maybe that's where your attention is drawn to him. But certainly when I looked at Mizzou's tape, I saw him line up as a Z. When I looked at the Virginia game, I saw him playing a lot of the split end and the X. Maybe my attention was drawn that way, guys, but one thing is for sure, they really bounced this kid around. And what I did notice is when they played him to the field side, okay, from going from that, from boundary to field side, there were some pretty good ideas that I saw coming out of their offensive coordinator there, which was getting the ball in this kid's hands in space. With all that added space, he hits that corner in the press situation, a little slant and go action. He's not a vertical threat, but if you give him space to operate, he can make some plays and really blow by competition. The kid is a very shifty kid, and although he doesn't have like elite long range speed, he's not, I don't think he's going to blow by anybody. I think he's a little faster than maybe some people are giving him credit for. I just don't think he's a Ayuk, a Rager, those type of players, right? A Ruggs, a Henry Ruggs. He's certainly not going to come close to some of those more speedsters that you're going to find across the league. But he still has a little bit of that change of direction ability, and that's what makes him, in my opinion, exceptional. Is it's not his long range speed, it's his change of direction. It's the fact that he can change and shift in and out of his breaks without needing to slow down. So, yeah, this is going to be a question of agility versus long range speed, and I think this kid does have agility, especially when you see him play as a flanker aligned at that Z. So, it's just what you see on film with this kid, man. It really stands out.
Backed up from their own 2. Florida looks to throw out of it.
Okay, guys, let's get into the particulars of Van Jefferson's route running. What I thought he did exceptionally well, guys, was at the line of scrimmage at his release. Those first 2 to 3 steps, guys, he really does a good job of setting up the routes and setting up those defensive backs. He understands leverage. He understands how to look at that corner, see that corner's leverage, and how to get that corner out of, get himself off balance here to get the desired result that he's seeking. And if you even go into some of the earlier games against like Florida State, you can see at Florida State you have a corner there who's pressing him. He's up in a press situation, but he has a little bit of an inside lean to him. Van Jefferson sees that, and he knows he wants that inside route. So what does he do? He's going to do a diamond release. But it's the way that he runs that diamond release that gives him that freedom to get by. This is what this kid is. He's an exceptional route runner, especially coming off the line of scrimmage. All right, 1, 2, 3. Get those hands off you. Get that first down, guys. There was a really, really good play on film in the LSU game to where Florida was down in the red zone, and you had Van Jefferson split out as I believe he was split out as actually the flanker as a Z in that one, but it's really hard to see because of the angle. However, what he's got is he's got a guy playing a little off. So he's in a man situation, a man coverage situation, but that LSU player is playing off in his coverage on him. So what he's going to do is he's going to still use that diamond step, right? A diamond step, guys, just means you're taking 3 steps outside off your release, right? But he's going to give a little hesitation step there as he's doing that diamond step, which then helps, bring that corner up to close the gap. Then he's going to go ahead, he's going to shoot those hips and get inside on that slant and get the touchdown. These are these little small things that Van Jefferson does that a guy like me goes on film and sees it and says, okay, I like this kid a lot. This kid he's a really, really sneaky, good route runner. Easy to overlook, but I'm telling you guys, he's one of the best in this class at running routes. He's going to do the hesitation hop, then 1, 2, 3, right into that slot, or that slant. The last point I want to illustrate here about his route running, guys, if you remember when I talked about Van Jefferson, I said he's not a burner. Okay, this is not, Henry Ruggs. This is not a Brandon Ayuk. This is not a Jalen Rager. Certainly not a Quez Watkins. This kid doesn't have that type of speed within the routes. But what he does have is agility, okay? He may not be a burner like those guys are, but he's just as agile as those guys are. So when you look in his route tree, and I'm going to take you to the Senior Bowl. When you're looking in the Senior Bowl and the way that he ran his route tree, I'll show you one of the plays here. What you'll see is he's really good at getting to a second gear. And not only when he gets to that second gear to set the corner up, It's the way that he's able to cut, the break he's able to make without missing a beat, without missing a stride. And the way he does that is by sinking his hips. Guys, you have to sink your hips correctly in order to break a route off, in order to not have to drastically slow down in order to make that break and come back to the ball. This is what I see from this kid. This is the type of thing that when you put it on film makes me think that this kid's probably going to go somewhere in the third round, because although he doesn't have that elite level of speed, he's got elite level agility and he's an elite level route runner. This is a kid that I think when scouts turn on the film, guys, it's going to be so apparent. My general feeling here is this kid's going into the second round, into the third round. You're going to see someone pick this kid up just based upon the film and how well he runs his routes. Look at him go through those gears, and then watch. He's going to sink his hips and come right back to the quarterback. All right, if I had to give a complete assessment of this young man, Van Jefferson, just let me say this to begin with. I like this young man a lot. I think he's going to be a very good football player. With that said, I'm a little unsold on him coming to the Philadelphia Eagles because I already feel like we have some guys in Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert and Greg Ward Jr. I just feel like we have guys that already do this for this offense, okay? I wish we could see more vertical, his ability to stretch the field more, but I'm going to be honest with you guys. And the stat I heard reported to me is that in the 4 years he played in the SEC, he only registered 4 catches, 4 receptions of over 20 yards. That's not a great statistic for a team that desperately needs someone to stretch the field. Now, this young man will be a great piece for a team that needs that guy that can go pick up that third down, right? A conversion guy, a guy who can run those clean, crisp routes and go get you a conversion.
Ask is a willing participant in the run game. Flea flicker from Pirine. Here's Trask to throw.
I think Van Jefferson is going to be your guy, and I think he's going to be very, very good at that. I think this might even be a guy that, although his productivity wasn't quite that high in the college game, I do think that he could be a big statistic eater in the pro game. With that said, there are some other little teeny tiny things about Van Jefferson that make me a little hesitant besides his lack of an ability to stretch the field. He can be a bit of a body catcher.
Rolling again on first.
He can allow the ball to get into his body, and then that just causes all kinds of messes with the pop-ups and the ball getting crazy and going out of control. And you see that on his film, guys. It's not the best look for a guy who's going to be a high reception guy, a guy that you're going to depend upon meeting conversions. He's got to be a little better with securing that ball with his hands out in front of his body, then bringing it in, tucking away securely. I do see problems with that on film as well. But, hey, I like this kid. This kid is a pretty good prospect. He's going to be a really good player for some team. All right, y'all. That's what I think Van Jefferson. But you already know I'm going to ask you. I want to know what you think about Van Jefferson. All right, y'all. I'm going to close this out. Let me know. What do you think about him? What round do you think he's going to get drafted? You know what time it is. EAGLES. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all back here tomorrow.